Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Arpreneur Show. My name is Jake. I am your Arpreneur trainer, and we have a special, awesome show for you today. I cannot wait. We have a special guest. His name is Ryan Birdman Parrott. He served his country as a Navy SEAL. We will get to him in just a moment, and with us, as always, to essentially just spice things up like a dash of grandma's peppery paprika. He's the youthful, he's the energetic, he's the pickleball playing, rapping extraordinaire, Matt, the Cowboy Dell.
Wow, I love it. What an intro tonight, Jake.
I practiced that all day to get that right for you, Matt. That's how much you mean to me.
Well, so our guest is from Dallas, and I'm thinking rappers in Dallas, but I got to go with the Cowboys because the whole world knows the Dallas Cowboys. And
100%.
Not only is he a stud, I can't wait to get on and start asking him some questions, but as a Navy SEAL, we had some technical difficulties that he fixed literally at 6:59 and 30 seconds.
By himself.
Used
to making it right at the edge, so I cannot wait to have him on. He's going to be exciting.
Yeah, so that sweat off of Jake's brow there is because we had technical difficulties. But let's kind of jump in because I can't wait to get to our guest this evening. So,
and one speaking of technical difficulties, hold on, I'm going to have one more here for you because we had to shut off and get back on. So give me a second
good
here.
Point. So now you're going to make me sing and dance for the.
I'm going to make you do something. You're going to have to rap.
Okay, well you don't want to hear that because then we'll have no eyes on this podcast. But,
well, lucky for you,
pulling that up. This is probably the most excited I've been about a guest. I mean, unfortunately, I typically don't peek at the bio, and I did on this time, and it got me so fired up. And then to see him come in, save the day with his technical skills, and actually make this happen, ensures we're in good hands with guys like Ryan, the Birdman.
100%.
Very excited. But for those that are joining us maybe for the first time, I just want to give you a little overview of who we are, Arpneuro. You can go to the next slide. So we're really here to talk about a technology that's been around for 20 years, huge success rate, primarily used for professional athletes. Now we are getting inundated with all the professional sports, collegiate athletes, high school athletes. So this thing is starting to grow tremendously. And really what it does is it not only helps recover 60 to 80% faster than typical physical therapy, but it is starting to prove out for all kinds of flexibility and strength and everything that we'll talk about a little bit more. But, as I mentioned, it's really the technology was developed and primarily used by professional athletes. If you go to our website, you'll see athletes using there's a tremendous amount of great videos like Brandon Marshall on NFL Today and talking about how it extended his career, and so many athletes in all these sports. So it's great. What we're trying to do is bring this technology to weekend warriors like myself and Pickle and anybody else that's on listening today. So you can go to the next slide. As a matter
for
of fact,
all the Jets fans out there, could they get it to Rodgers somehow?
Well, it's interesting because it would be great. Who knows what these pro athletes do to kind of rehab? But seeing him at the game last night, it wouldn't surprise me if he's got the RX, being utilized for his training, but for his recovery. But anyways, there's two products. There's the RX 100 and the PRS. The RX 100 can contract up to 500 contractions per second. It's a medical. It's a class 2 medical device, and the PRS is over the counter. And we're going to go into a little bit about both of those later on the presentation here. But as I mentioned, I mean, this is a great. This is Lane Johnson speaking of NFL. He used this. There was an article written in the Philadelphia newspaper prior to the Super Bowl last year, where he actually was battling a major groin injury and was able to get through the playoffs and play in the Super Bowl because of it. As a matter of fact, this is a recent picture of him. I probably can't see, but he prepares before games utilizing the PRS to stimulate and get ready for the battle of that day. So you can go to the next slide. Most people ask, so how does this compare to a STEM device or a TENS device? And And so, Jake, if you want to kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing that I like to focus on is the alternating current compared to the direct current. That is the major game changer that we have here. And it's also the reason why coupled with some other things that we've done with the technology, where we can get to an intensity that you just cannot reach with alternating current. So as you can see here, the contractions with the TENS unit, even on a high end, is about 10 times per second. Maybe the highest I've seen is 20. With our take-home unit, which is the PRS, the smaller one, that's the one you saw on Lane Johnson when he was laying down, it's at 245 times per second. But it's also at a rate that your brain uses to contract a muscle, so it's harmonious with your brain, neurological, as opposed to something that's foreign to your body, physiological. So a real game changer of being able to not only, promote muscle growth and be able to retrain muscles, but getting a lot more blood flow into that area at a higher rate of speed.
Yeah, I've got to read a quote that came to one of our one of our employees today, from somebody that just got his PRS, and I believe he was a professional athlete, but don't quote me on that. But his text to one of the employees was, "Bro, I'm obsessed with this thing, and my PT, who is extremely skeptical about it, is in love too." I loved getting those kind of texts.
Yeah.
That just happened a few minutes ago, but
Never
again,
gets old.
it never gets old. So you can go to the next slide.
Love it.
So you'll probably start hearing more and more about it. We've got some universities that are starting to utilize this as part of their curriculum, Logan University, Kaiser University. And so some of these students that are going to be coming out of, these universities are going to start having and utilizing this for the modality that we're going to be talking about tonight. So
yep. And Matt, if I could just interject on the Kaiser side, that Dr. Debono has been doing a lot of work when it comes to a lot of the middle cross. And we mentioned that we were going to be down there in West Palm Beach, Florida, and he held a big seminar. It was about 6 hours. You can see some of that on YouTube, and that's going to be continuing to grow. He's doing a lot of research. The students fell in love with it. They're doing a lot of research. The faculty is getting involved. And there's a research there that they have that they hold a lot of confidence in, that he's going to be actually kind of unpacking a lot of what we have to offer. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I started meeting with them and they had their whole team and Dr. Debono, who was the VP of Innovation and Technology, they spent several years diving into this technology. And believe it or not, he gave me the greatest slogan that we now use. As they were evaluating this, they basically said, we're trying to understand scientifically how this works, but the one thing we can't argue with is the outcomes.
Yeah.
Sure. So as you'll see all over, it is all about the outcomes and getting people healthier and and moving quicker and better. So you can go to the next slide. Personally, I had an experience. This is my son's senior year in high school, broke his leg. They put a rod between his knee and his ankle. The orthopedic said, he's basically done for his senior year. He went and did 20 treatments with the RX, and that's him actually playing that same year, several months later, with a rod in his leg, the last 5 games of the basketball season. So there's no way he could have been able to do that. And I think it even, blew away the orthopedic surgeon that operated. But again, a testament to how unbelievable this technology really is.
Yeah, for sure. This one kind of goes into a lot of what we always talk about, the certain things that, we hold near and dear to our heart of what it can do. Obviously, preventing injury, alleviating pain. That's the biggest one. I always like to focus on that preventing injury portion, because we're able to find solutions before there's actual problems. And what I mean by that is we find the breakdowns before there's actually a breakdown, meaning a muscle that's not absorbing force. That tends to be one of the reasons why there's injuries in the first place. You have something just not firing. And if you're an athlete, or if you're very physical, or even if you're not, you're just going up the stairs, something may misfire and you find yourself tweaking your body a certain way. There's some sort of compensatory pattern, and that leads to injury, perhaps a lot larger injury that you end up going through instead. And this can actually keep a lot of that from happening. So, even after a post injury, we kind of go back to it certainly alleviates pain. It does that rather quickly, but increasing the range of motion and getting you back to what you need to, as far as being harmonious with your body and, getting rid of a lot of those compensatory patterns. So that
there you go
rigid.
again. You're stealing my word, compensatory.
Sorry. Yeah. I should have left that to you.
That's my new big word, and I love it. And what I've learned about that, what compensatory means, and this is a game changer, is, as we get older and you start, working out or doing something, even at any age, that compensatory is basically you're using muscles, inappropriately, if you will, because others aren't firing. And so this actually detects and will actually start strengthening those areas. So, so you actually start functioning all the muscles the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And so,
100%.
It's interesting. It reminds me of when you're working out and they say heavy weights versus, great solid form. If you're working with solid form, you're obviously going to be using all of the muscles the way they're intended versus potentially compensatory issues if you're trying to max out a bench press, for an example.
It sounds really good when you say it, actually.
Was that pretty accurate, Jake?
Yeah, 100. Yeah, it was right on point. I love it.
If I had a mic, I'd drop it, but let's continue.
That's why I flipped the screen so we can move on after that statement.
Yeah, what we're trying to do in these Q&As is we really want to dive in. There's so many common conditions that this technology can help. This is just a sampling of them. Concussions. We've had some great conversations with some doctors that have utilized that to help concussions, especially at the high school and college athletes. Orthopedic surgery for recovery, rotator. And so if you see anything on these common conditions and you have more questions, please, don't fire away in this Q&A or anytime. We'd be happy to, kind of dive into some of these conditions.
Absolutely. And the list is actually longer than this. I know Matt just said that. This is just the common, but we have treated more than just this and had some success. So just because it's not on here doesn't mean this, our technology couldn't potentially help you. So feel free to reach out to us, info@arpneuro.com.
Yeah, and this goes back, on our website, if you've utilizing this technology and you're here to learn, or you're interested, we're trying to continually post outcomes because, you can't argue with the outcomes. And, we'd love to get your video testimonial just so others can hear whether you had an ankle, back, knee issue and how it resolved or solved your issue. And love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And as we go through this, because this next one, we're getting into a kind of a brief overview on a protocol you can use. Feel free to reach out to us now. If you're on live, you can send us a message if you have any questions. You can also email us. Again, I'll keep saying it, info@arpneuro.com. This particular protocol I'm going to go over, there's a couple of pad placements that we've used. I have posted a video on one of them. I'm going to share that one in addition to another one that you can kind of these could be sort of interchangeable. So to go back real quickly, because I clicked off that a little fast. It's just recovery, anti-anxiety protocol. This could be something where it's a post-workout. It could be something if you just had a stressful day, stressful week, or you've gone through, if you're an athlete and the game was stressful, this is something this could actually be beneficial. Very easy pad setup. So it's a black pad on the bottom of the feet and the red on the scapula area. Now, there's going to be some variations because I'm going to kind of target on the RX and the PRS. With the RX, obviously, it has the multiple channels where you can cross it. With the PRS, you're just going to have that one channel with splitters, so it's just going to go from the bottom to the top. That's the major difference. Crossing it is only going to actually, it's just going to inspire more blood flow and it's going to recruit more muscle fibers, but that's the actual Class 2 medical device. The take home is just going to be, something that you can do on your own. And it's essentially laying down in the supine position, 20 minutes for the RX. So if it's a treatment in office, that's what we recommend, 500 pulses per second. And it's a light sensation. A lot of times we'll talk about absorbing force and trying to get that output power as high as possible to absorb the force. This is one of those protocols you sort of reel that back. We don't want a lot of force here because we're just trying to generate light sensation along with blood flow. And essentially, starting from the bottom, black going up, you're just trying to draw that blood flow toward the heart. Same thing with the PRS. Now, as you can notice here with the PRS, you can go a little bit longer. because it is one of those devices, certainly less than the RX. So if it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and I've heard even longer, that's just fine. So that would be the first pad placement. This is your additional one that you can use. In fact, this is the one I tend to use most often when somebody has sleeping issues or anxiety. We just kind of go over that vagus nerve here. So this is just going to involve one cord. Whether it's the PRS or the RX, you just need these two different pads. And as you can see here, it's right on the chest, just above the sternum, and it's going vertically. And then the black pad's going to be below. So it's black above, red below. I think I said that wrong. So black above, red below, picture's right there. If I could just read it properly. And the same is true with the PRS. You could do the same thing. And again, it's just going to be a different contraction speed of 245, light sensation. Now, no movement as well. You're not trying to push anything here. You're just laying down, flat back, face up, and it's kind of just sort of a relaxation protocol.
So Jake, let me ask you, is this kind of similar to like, just getting a blood, kind of deep tissue massage, kind of getting that blood flow? Is it?
Yeah, that's a perfect question. So the first pad placement back here, I think I would attribute to a lot of that because it's covering full body. This other one is a little more pinpoint. I would say if it's anxiety, or if you feel like you have a lot of anxiety, this is the one where it's more in your chest. A little bit different than something like a myofascial release, but they probably both, relatively are going to do the same thing for you. They're definitely going to relax you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And the first one is actually on our YouTube channel now. And so you can check that out. The other one is going to eventually be on there. We're going to have multiple parts to a lot of these videos that you see now. You can check out our YouTube channel. It's on there. It's just add ARP Neuro. If you go on the playlist, you'll see protocols, and then you'll see protocols for performance. And the performance is going to be sports related or any type of like physical related things you want to do. It does that. A lot of the other protocols you're going to see that are going to involve pain. So that's what you're going to see on this one. And then, of course, you can see many of these are going to be on our website. So I just want to kind of show you how to navigate that at arpneuro.com. And you just want to go to ARP Neuro PRS and how to use the PRS. When you get there, it's just going to take you down to this drop-down menu. You're going to see this gorilla-looking face here.
That's a good-looking man, Jake. A very good-looking man.
The stock is going down every time someone clicks on that page. I noticed that is the least time spent on our clicks for Google.
It kind of looks like you're yelling at somebody. You scare me in that picture.
I know. I don't know. I think maybe the pad placement was too high when I was doing this or something. It was stressing me out.
I love it.
Multiple protocols, as you can see here, ankle all the way down to wrist and hand. There's multiple there, but on the website, it's not all of them. That's just a taste of what we have. The YouTube channel will continue to generate more. So if you want to go a little bit deeper into this, certainly check out the YouTube channel. Matt, I got to tell you, if I have to hear one more time after our ARP Neuro Q&As how to buy a PRS, I'm going to lose my mind. So I'm going to just keep this on here from now on. Okay. And so we can make it super easy. If you're interested in that, I just want to show you, it's very easy. It's right on the shop. You have a couple of options. You click on it, and then there's your two options. You could buy it. There's multiple ways to do it, or you can actually just test it out like you would test drive a car. So you could lease it for a few months. If you like it, you will probably want to keep it. And that's where we've been for the most part on all of this. And I know what you guys are thinking. When is this guy going to shut his pie hole and bring on the Navy SEAL?
I was thinking that, but go ahead. I love it. And we do have some questions. Keep the questions coming because we will get to them.
Absolutely. We certainly will. I saw those pop up and we appreciate it. So first of all, I want to introduce Ryan Birdman Parrott. He served 8 years as a U.S. Navy SEAL, including 3 combat tours in Iraq with SEAL Team 7. In 2012, Birdman founded Sons of the Flag, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping veteran and first responder burn survivors and their families access the care that they deserve. Recognizing the need for the support in the extreme sports community, he also established the Bird's Eye View Project, And in memory of a dear friend, he launched the Human Performance Project, promoting holistic health and wellness for the next generation. Birdman's commitment to serving and supporting his fellow servicemen and women is at the core of his journey. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, without further ado, Ryan Birdman Parrott. And we really appreciate you being here. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your service. And thank you for taking your time to be here with us today.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. Really appreciate it. And please don't ask me any more technical questions, because that was basically all I had.
That was impressive.
You nailed it.
Yeah. And I didn't get a chance. I mean, what a great intro. Ryan, I don't think we've got a chance to talk, but please, I'd love to hear your story. What a great intro and bio. Tell us a little bit about yourself. My nickname Cowboy is because I did look and see that you're in Dallas, so I had to, kind of, salute the Cowboys for you. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you from the Texas area?
No, I hear from my voice that I sound a little bit more north, and so I'm actually from Detroit, Michigan.
Nice,
okay.
Midwestern,
So,
love it.
Yeah,
go Lions, man.
You had the wrong team, Matt.
I'm a Lions fan now. If you watch what the Bears did, I have to find somebody to root for.
It was tough growing up on that front, for sure.
Yeah.
So for me, it was growing up. I was just really, we all play ice hockey in Michigan. That was the big thing, and for me, I just had no motivation. I didn't know anything about working out or performance or any of that stuff, and quite frankly, didn't care about any of it. And a teacher of mine who was a Marine, he one day came into class and he said, "There's only one thing better than the Marine Corps, and that's the U.S. Navy SEALs." And we all listened and were like, "What did he just say? There's something better in his beloved Corps?" And I don't know. This is why I always will have a mentor until the day I die, because real mentors really speak not just to the audience, but they speak individually. They send those subtle things to you to help you advance your life, because that's exactly what he did. I stayed after class and Mr. Barnes wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and he's just violently laughed in my face. He's like, "You can't even pass my class and it's an elective. How the hell are you going to pass SEAL training?" I had no answer. But ultimately, the next day I showed up and there was a magazine, a Reader's Digest magazine, on the making of an American warrior. And I was hooked. I was like, that is exactly what I want to do. And, several months after that, 9/11 happened. And that's when I got real. That's when I said, all right, I'm doing this. So I actually got up that day, that moment, and I went to the recruiter station. I said, I don't care what it takes. I want to be a SEAL. Let's go. I was unfortunately too young to join, but ultimately a few months later, I would turn the age. I would join. I would go in the delayed entry program, graduate, and head off to the Navy. And it's crazy to think that a guy who was working at Walgreens in the photo department, failing every subject in school, was now in SEAL training and about to graduate. So, it was I like to give out my resume as a joke to people, saying Walgreens photo printer, U.S. Navy SEAL sniper, just to show a little bit of that.
So tell us, I'd love to hear, how hard is that to become a Navy SEAL? I mean, that's not something they just hand out. I mean, that had to be, just tell us a little bit about some of that process, if you could. Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, there's quite a curriculum, quite a bit of stuff you have to do even just to get selected. When I went through the program, it was 2003. And so you had to strike for it. You had to raise your hand and say, this is what I want to try out for. It's a 100% volunteer program. You have to do a battery of tests, a psychedelic. We'll talk about that later. Psychological eval. We have to do a physical test. We have to do an oral review board. And then we have to do, I think, an academic review. But ultimately, you have to pass those with flying colors. And then after all that success, then they say, if you want, you can show up 2 hours earlier in boot camp than everybody else and train with us. But that's it. They don't give you any, yes, you made it, you're going to make it forward, or you're going to pass forward, go, whatever. And ultimately, you show up every day, you train, you get no word. And then the last minute, somebody will come to you. And Senior Chief Fitzhenry is the first Navy SEAL I ever met. Dude, looked like a Navy SEAL, was a psycho. He was the man. And he came in and he said, everything you did has been wonderful. You've done everything to the highest level, but we're just not sure you're the quality of candidate we're looking for. And like, wow. And then he looked around at the rest of the room and he looked back at me and he's like, I'm messing with you, dude. Welcome to Buds.
Nice.
I couldn't believe it. So once you do that, you're selected. You get entry into Buds or SEAL training, basic underwater demolition SEAL training. When you show up, you start with a 4 or 5 week NDOC, or at least you used to, which would get you prepped for what it's going to be like in training. So you have to learn the culture of being a student at SEAL training. That's what the first 4 or 5 weeks are going to do for you, is acquaint you with what the rigmarole is going to look like. And then when you start buds day one, that's when the hammer drops and they annihilate you. And they don't have to put hands on you. They don't. They can just tell you to go do things. And because you want to be there, you're going to go do it. And after iteration after iteration of wet logs and being cold, wet, tired, and miserable, full of sand, carrying 200-pound, 300-pound, 400-pound logs, boats on top of your head, different types of drill back to back, your body starts to fatigue. And that's when it truly shows you that your body will break, but your mind will tell your body that even if it's broken, you're going to keep going. It was the first time in my life that I had ever been tested to where it proved that my mind was truly 1,000 times stronger than my body could ever imagine. And so you start listening to your mind and saying, okay, well, I can go a little further. So my whole process during SEAL training was I kept telling myself, I look to my left and my right. I see the guys who are still here. And I say, you know what? Any day of the week, they may be stronger, faster. They're definitely not better looking than me, but anything else. But why can't I be as good as them today? And I continue to use that motto in my head, like, you know what? I'm still here. Why am I not as good as them? I am. And so I would use that mentality. And then we get to Hell Week, which is the 5th week in training. And that's the core week. You make it through Hell Week, you've got the sauce. Hell Week is 5 days, 5.5 days where you're cold, wet, tired, and miserable. You get no sleep. I think some of the statistics back then where you burn 20 to 25,000 calories a day. You're eating every 6 hours. There's a new instructor staff every 8 hours. I mean, around the clock hammerings, which is physical PT, cold water, sand, remedial drills. And you're doing everything from ocean swims to log PTs to O courses to soft sand runs with boots. I mean, the list goes on, and just constant. And they want to know that you got what it takes. If they're going to send you to do some of the hardest core missions that they can produce for you, to go after some of the most, the badass terrorists, they want to know that you're not going to run off the X and that you're going to get there and you're going to do the job. So it was insane. And, getting through the 5th week and standing there when they told us to about face at the very end of it, there was nobody there but just an American flag stuck in the ground floating. And you get your why pretty quickly. It's definitely bigger than all of us. You can go in for a battery of reasons, but once you get to that pivotal moment, you know that this is much greater than yourself, and how many have laid down their life for that flag. And so I remember the commanding officer getting up on the megaphone right there and then and saying, "Congratulations to you, future Navy SEALs. Hell Week is secure." And we started around 186 guys. I think we were down to 30 some at the very end of Hell Week. You're talking 5 weeks into training. So you still got, 5.5 months still to go to get through it. But, at that point, it proves that you got that special sauce. And now you start getting more technical, because now you need to start learning the craft. You can only beat somebody down so much before you know that they got it. Now we got to start training warriors for war. And it just so happened that during the time I went in, we were just going to war. So you could see the demeanor of the instructor staff shift when, we lost our first SEAL, and things got really serious. Things got very technical, and people were motivated, and just blessed to be a part of the community, and one of the greatest things I've ever done.
Wow, that's an incredible story, and congratulations on that. I mean, it is amazing to hear those kind of stories. I mean, all I've got is, seeing the movies, and it sounded exactly like a movie script, and to know that it's real and that you were able to accomplish that is absolutely incredible. So congrats.
Appreciate it.
Did that kind of start your journey? Obviously you sound like you were, a hockey guy, in high school. I don't know if you played other sports, but did that lead you into your journey in physical activity, obviously, and learning more about how you can better your body? Is that kind of how that transitioned?
No, I think my father was I think his father raised him, World War II vet, to always be outside, always do multiple disciplines of sports. So my dad had me in everything. I played I played every sport minus football, and even wrestled. And it was just one of those things where we dabbled into everything, tried it, enjoyed a lot of it. And I don't remember being inside the house much.
Okay.
So that's a big thing. A lot of Midwesterners and mid part of the country make it through SEAL training just because we were always outside in nature and just making play out of nothing, and really didn't have a whole lot, at our whim to play with. So, but my dad really got me into it, and I would get more excited as I would start to excel in things. And it's crazy. You start moving your body, you start feeling good. You want more. And so, it's the best way to feel good all the time is to continually move. My wife tells me today with 2 young kids that I need to move more. I'm like, how much more movement can we do? So
Ryan, awesome. Question for you. So clearly when you're going through this, especially when you're going through Hell Week, there had to be something in your mind where it's, you had to fight it, where it's telling you to quit or your body's telling you to quit. And you talked about the secret sauce. So what was your it factor that you found that just kept you going when your body told you to stop? Was it something specific?
2 things. One, I always call this the spark. It's something that you latch onto in your mind that tells you that you're going to continue to keep the promise to yourself you're made. Every single day we make promises to other people to try to uphold, but when's the last time you made a promise to yourself and you kept it? So I made a promise to myself that I would tell my parents that I gave it everything at the end. And I wanted to make that phone call on the good side and say, hey, I did it. And so that was one thing that pushed me through, was I got to make that phone call every time it would get rough. And it did get tough and it got cold, but I was going to make that phone call. The other side was every time that we would finish an evolution, I would realize, because I'd stay in the moment, that I was still there. And I realized that I just made it, so maybe I can step into this next one. And I did. And then at the end of that evolution, I was there again. And so you just take it in bite sizes. You cannot, one of my buddies, Alex, says you can't, and he was Special Operations Army, he goes, you can't boil the ocean. And it's so true. You take things in little bite sizes. Okay, to this next, when you're doing, I did a 100-mile run one time, and I will never do it again. But it was just another mile. You don't look at 100 miles because it's horrible, but you look at another mile. Okay, that's a success. And if you can enjoy those little achievements, those little wins, everything has a start and a finish, and you will get to the conclusion. And then you'll truly pat yourself on the back because you earned it.
Wow. That's awesome. So now I mean, I don't even know how you top this story, because obviously we're here to talk about ARP and your experience with that, which I have no clue what that really is. So I'm going to ask you, when and how did you get introduced to ARP Neuro and the technology of ARP?
Yeah, so this is a good one. So it was this all started this project we call the Human Performance Project. Also, it's on 7X, so 7x.project on Instagram. The idea behind this project, it stems from my sniper partner, David Metcalf. David was what I call my true north. So we were sniper buddies together. We served for 4 years in the same platoon together. We went overseas twice together to Iraq. We did a whole lot together. And he wasn't just a key guy to me. He was a true north to everybody in the platoon. One of those people that you can go to for anything. And even if they don't have the answer, they're there for you. And just talking to him makes you feel good. He was my guy. He was our guy. David took his life in 2019. And it absolutely destroyed me. And one, because I lost a brother and just a remarkable human. But 2, you think about that mentor. That's your person they're bomb-proof. They're never going to go. They're always going to be around. And I felt lost. I couldn't cry about it because I was so lost with it. And the one thing I did is, instead of sitting there and just being angry or sad or depressed or whatever, I was all those things, don't get me wrong. But I asked the question for the first time is, what are we missing? We have this rate of suicide that is out of control, not just in the veteran community, in the active duty community, but in the world. People are taking their life so fast, and it's heartbreaking. And I don't think I'm any kind of scholar, and I'm certainly not smart, and I definitely don't have any degrees behind me. But I wanted to ask this question for my own edification was, what are we missing? And is it so biohacking and so technologically advanced that we're not there yet? Or is it staring at us right in front of our faces and saying, I'm here. This is how you fix yourself. This is how you fix me. And so I came up with this idea of, how do we treat the body instead of the mind? But if we treat the body, could the body treat the mind? So is this a physiological problem? Now, sure, there is a degree of people who get blown up, who get traumatic brain injuries, who truly need to go to see neuroscientists and neurosurgeons and people who have studied their whole life on brains. But for the bigger degree of people, I truly believe it's more than just brain. Because if you look at the facts, when I just said about Hell Week, you're burning 20 to 25,000 calories a day and you're getting your ass handed to you all the time. Physiologically, it's not healthy. The intake that you're eating is not healthy. You're supplementing with things that have fillers and additives and garbage. You're getting terrible sleep. Your physiological homeostasis is shattered. And if you do that back and forth every single year for a 20-year career and you get out and you have problems and you wonder why, that's staring at us right in the face. And so my approach was, could we go and reintroduce the stress that we put on ourselves during a career within a shorter period of time, and then take those test subjects and reboot them to homeostasis physiologically? And this is where the Human Performance Project came in. And the idea was we were going to go skydive or base jump, then land and run a full marathon, and then plunge into the water, do some kind of a swim, back to back on all 7 continents in 7 days. Wow. It wasn't about doing a record. It wasn't about probably getting an achievement. It was about the facts, the studying the facts and bringing in all these cool and, people who have dedicated their lives to human performance in multiple different sectors to all come together to figure out the plan. Like, how do we do this? And then the end goal would be creating a documentary to explain the findings, and then creating a manual so that if you are struggling in your life and you feel like there's no way out, you can tap into this manual and you can reboot yourself to homeostasis without having to spend tons of money or do things that's going to take you 10 years or feel like there's never going to, and you're never going to gain some ground. The simplest little things every single day can get you back to where you really need to be. So it's about making that mindset shift back into the little wins as opposed to the big ones. So when I created this project, and I didn't realize how big this thing was going to be, we started bringing in different people, and we had some incredible sponsors coming right out of the gate. Thorne was the first adopter, so they were supplementing us. And what we wanted to do was bring in companies who brought the real stuff to the table. Thorne makes great product. Bubs came in with collagen, and we're like all in. And so what we did is we had our dietitian fact check every company that came to us to say, yes, they've got labels, they've got third-party checks, this passes the sniff test, this is good stuff for your body, let's use it. Technology started coming into play. Now, the beautiful thing about this is, being the director of this program, I'm the least qualified to run a human performance project. However, I think it's cool because I'm the end user. So instead of me standing up on stage talking about how I'm a subject matter expert, I'm the one talking about how this helped me, because I am the end user. And so bringing all these experts together, we were having a team meeting in Dallas, and our PT actually reached out and said, hey, there's this really cool cat named Colin Strange who hit me up and says he wants to get involved. He wants to fly out. He wants to show you the products. And she goes, what do you think? I said, if you like it, I'm in. And so all of a sudden he walks in the door when we're having our team meeting, and he brings this gear with him, and everybody is always skeptical when stuff walks in the door that they've never seen before. And he turns it on, and I wasn't in the room. And I walk in, and one of my guys is just about on the floor. Like, oh my gosh, this stuff's insane. And you had to do it to truly believe it. And I'm the biggest skeptic out there because I have fractured myself physiologically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I have destroyed myself over the years. And I would do it again in a heartbeat for the calling, for what I did. But the reboot is very difficult. I would have taken a different approach to the reboot and kept myself in a better state during the process. However, so I loaded up, I got on the ARP, and I think we got up to about 28 before I started losing my mind. And I was like, and he's like, nah, you can go a little bit higher. I'm like, well, if you say so. And I think
that sounds like Colin.
Yeah. I think I was on my tippy toes, but as it would start to get into it, which we talk about in a few, this product was beyond effective for what we were doing in the lead up, not to mention the project itself as a whole, the end state. So I guess I'll stop right there unless you ask other questions before we get into the technical side of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's interesting because there's no questions. I want you to keep going because this is intriguing to me.
So there was one specific thing because we had obviously there's learning and training involved in any type of new technology that you're going to utilize. But for me, I said, okay, I'm open-minded to anything, whatever it takes. When I mentioned psychedelics early, it's like anything medical related that's going to fix somebody. I'm not against anybody trying anything that's being done by a physician or a real professional, as long as it's to help them in their life get better. And so we looked at an array of things. When we started using this and Colin started training our team, we had a couple of Zoom calls where we were learning about it. I was very open-minded. I'm like, okay, I'm going to study everything. You just send it to me. And it just so happened that we were getting ready to hit this training week where it was a half marathon every day for 5 days straight. And for those who have not met me, I am not a distance runner. And by definition, I would consider that distance running when you're doing a half every day for 5 days. So I was really regimented on my supplementation. I was working really hard on going to bed early so I could get up super early. I live in Texas, in Dallas, or just north of Dallas, so it's 1,000 degrees during the day. So you have to get up super early if you're going to knock out anything under 20 miles an hour. It's kind of a miserable, lonely training cycle for distance runners, which I've learned. But I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, it's not like we're just starting with 5 halves back to back. We had been doing an insane amount of running leading up to this training week because we stair step it. We had the 8x5 and then we had, it goes all the way up. And so we get to this week and I'm like, all right, I'm going all in with this ARP. And so what I did is I strapped it to my thighs and my calves every single night.
Can I ask a question? Like, what was it that motivated you for that? Was it just to kind of recover, or did you have some injuries, or what was it that motivated you to actually start utilizing the ARP?
So the recovery was my biggest concern.
Okay.
I had this, my thought to myself was, if I can get done by this time every single day, my goal was under 2 hours for every half marathon. If I could get to this time frame and hit this number, then I could take my son to school. And so I had to get it done. And so recovery was everything. I still have to perform, regardless. Like I still have to do it, but I have to do it in a mature way too. I can't just blow myself out on one of the runs. Mm-hmm. So this was solely for, I'm going to turn off the pulse. I'm going to dial it all the way up to 100, and I'm going to sleep with this thing on all night long. And the one thing
So just basically just for pure blood flow. Okay, good.
And I didn't ask Colin if I were sleeping, if I pulled one of the cords, if I would have gotten electrocuted or I would have felt a pulse. And I just kind of went to bed with one eye open the first night and then realized it didn't happen. I was like, okay, we're going to be good.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I woke up the next morning, the first after that Monday, first half marathon, I woke up Tuesday morning and I turned on my music and I started moving. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Legs are normally stressed out after a run. Even if it's a half marathon, it's a half marathon. They're stressed out. They've just gone under a lot of pounding into the ground. And I was ready to go. And what I'd learned through this process through the week is that I increased my speed, which was insane. In fact, I increased my speed so much at the last run that I ended up falling and fracturing my tibia.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, it was a stress fracture, so I kept going. But ultimately,
of course you did. You're a SEAL.
I'm not going to let the other guys get the best of me. Yeah. But that was one of the pivotal moments for me where it's just, it proved it 1,000 times over. This thing is so effective on multiple levels, but this specific level, blood flow for recovery, especially, whether you're doing a half marathon or you're just trying to recover from the post-workout, it was one of those things where I was hooked. I was like, okay, this is going to become part of my regimen. Mm-hmm. And so we consistently do that. We brought the ARPs with us on the plane around the world. I mean, after knocking out marathon after marathon after marathon, guys are hooking into them. And it just became this religion to them. like I need this as part of my training cycle. So for the high-end athlete or the person who's going hard and then has to do recovery, it's like, it's a no-brainer. It has to be part of the regimen. Mm-hmm. But for the everyday user, I'm that person. I'm not the guy who's going to go out tomorrow and run a half or a full marathon. I hate running. I don't, unless I am legitimately chasing my kids, I don't like running distance. I like running short sprints, gaining something from it. But even that comes into play where you're, working different types of muscle groups. So this is effective across the board. Mm-hmm. And so for me, this partnership was like the greatest thing that had come, because we didn't have too many technologies that came towards us that really showed proof in the pudding. We did have a few, and they came and they went. And that's okay. I mean, they're designed for what they're doing, and I wish them all the best. But this one was truly effective for what we were going for, was what products can we give to the struggling person, the veteran, the first responder, somebody who's crushing themselves, to give them an edge to get back to where they need to be. And this was it. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, Jake, I'd love to get your take on, I have heard, and Jake probably has more testaments, how important this technology has become to get away from the drugs and all the pharmaceuticals for pain relief, and how this can absolutely help. And this might lead into answering some of these questions about neuropathy and other things. But Jake, would love to, I mean, it's such a huge thing. Could you shed some light on that, Jake, and how it's helped?
Yeah, Matt, that's actually a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I recently read something the other day regarding the deaths in the U.S. based on drug overdose. And it was something like 100,000 or 110,000. And out of those 110,000 people, 75% of it was linked to the opioid crisis. The problem, what has been happening in the U.S. is that so many people are in pain, they're willing to do just about anything to get out of that pain. And unfortunately, our country has led so many people down this pathway of opioids, trying to claim that they were safe, and it's led to these addictions and unfortunately deaths. The beauty of the ARP technology is that after the first session, it pulls you out of a lot of pain, if not all of it. Now, some of that ends up coming back, but as they go through multiple treatments and they stay with the treatments, you find out that it's actually fixing the problem where they're no longer in pain anymore, and they're enjoying their life better because they're stronger, their body's working more efficiently, and they're not addicted to drugs because it's drug free. So you're just like the exclamation point of somebody who can test it to the ultimate degree and come back with what we know it can do. And it just, I guess, kind of on top of the extreme training, how are you using it now? Because clearly you're not doing that type of extreme training these days, or are you?
No, absolutely not. This was a one-hit wonder for me.
Sure. So what if you found kind of as you've seen it, work on other people that have come in, they're part of your project, and, what have you seen and the benefits when it came to that?
Well, I mean, so back to the first part of the question. So what do I do now? So now my goal was, okay, now we've built ourselves, back into homeostasis, or at least close to, because you can say physiologically you're at this place where truly you are where you need to be. But then there's that mental side where you're like, am I truly there? And so I might need that extra edge. So there's two things. One is now getting into the gym and working out with weights, which I didn't do for over a year. And so now getting strong. Well, if you lift weights, it's crushing my muscles. I mean, it's absolutely destroying my body because it's just something I haven't done. They've been sedentary. And so using this again as the recovery, get blood flow going, try to break down some of that stress and that swelling, and release that, get it to go away quicker. Also, I did remember that Colin said that if I'm sitting on the computer, I could be typing and gaining a six-pack at the same time. So I'm working a little of that magic in too. When you run a lot, you gain weight in one area only, and that's in your stomach. They say trail runners never have good bodies because they can run for days, but that fat stores in their stomach because it's got nowhere else to go. Yeah. And so I'm going to work on my six-pack. But no, I mean, honestly, this regiment, it can work for any level of fitness, whatever you're looking to do. Yes, you can gain muscle. You can do recovery. There's a lot of things that you can do with it. For me personally, it's I want to get myself back to where I was when I exited service, where my body was at its strongest point, but I'm not huge. I know what my good resting body weight needs to be in order for you to be able to, what Alex, my special operations buddy, says, eat, sleep, and communicate, or eat, sleep, and move now, he says. Mm-hmm. And so I want to be able to do that I want to have longevity with my life for my children, because we do only have one shot at this. And I've done enough damage in my past career to now it's about making up for it with my body, treating it right, and seeing how far I can go.
Wow. That's unreal.
Awesome. I think, Jake, I'd love to kind of start answering a couple of these questions because it's on the kind of the similar line. But, the first question that we've got here is about neuropathy and how it helps specifically decrease the pain and enhance that nerve regeneration, which is, it's similar to the recovery aspect, but it's really on the neuropathy side. So love to, have you answer that if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. And that one goes back to ultimately the foot bath has been the most successful with that. And I think the water plays a good role in that because it just magnifies what the technology already does. And with neuropathy, a lot of times there's certain areas in your feet that are dormant. There's certain muscles that are dormant, but they're not necessarily dead. So this has the ability to get to that depth where it will wake them up. And we've seen this, and I've shared this numerous times when we've gone to literal podiatry clinics that they've treated patients for 10 years. And they haven't felt their feet at all. And they break down in tears after the first couple of minutes because it's the first time they've actually felt their feet. So, it gives back a lot of that stimulation. At the same time, when you're talking about, when you're talking about some of that, you're building some of that inflammation. This helps draw out. So when I was talking in the first part about the direction of the current, that plays a role too. So the current starting on the bottom, it pulls it out of the feet and it kind of takes it through the body, and it's also injecting blood flow and also getting muscle contractions. So you're able to get a lot of inflammation out of your feet, your ankles, your knees. And then, at the same time, it's, kind of attacking it from other angles of getting new blood flow and getting muscle contractions to wake up a lot of those dormant muscles. So if they're consistent in a lot of those treatments, this tends to stay. Now, we do always recommend, maintenance treatments, but it tends to stay where they have a lot of that feeling back. So it's, super successful with that.
That's awesome. So Ryan, did during that whole project, did you have, obviously injuries had to have occurred, how beneficial was it having that ARP with you guys as you traveled all the continents to help, for recovery and more importantly, injury prevention? Did you guys utilize the technology for that?
Yeah. It's like somebody is an operator going out in the field without a weapon, right? You have to have it. And just knowing that it's on board was, one of those little mind checks that you have to say, okay, got it. I'm good to go. Because you can always refer to it. We wanted to listen to our bodies as much as could be during the trip to ensure that we were doing things right and truly playing out what we had planned. Injuries sustained. So, God knows what all stretch fractures guys had. I was the first to get one. I remember falling, and it was like, it made me angry because I thought I just scraped the palms of my hands, and I was mad about that. So I just started running harder. We had a week recovery after that week, and that's when I noticed that my leg was messed up. But apparently,
how did that trail make you injured?
I still haven't gone down that street since. But the interesting thing, a lot of these guys used it, got different types of feedback because everybody had a different body style too and a different form of training. Some guys were special operators, some guys and career special operators, some guys were in their career in special operations. We had a range of guys from, I think, 35 to 50, and then everything in between doing the test subjects. So we got aged, which is going to play a huge role in a recovery and just what load they can put on their body. We had professional athletes, triathletes, ultra marathon runners, and then Chris Hoff, our coach, who, a phenomenal running coach. He was an Olympian swimmer. He's kind of a jerk because he made us do all that running. I hope he listens to this, but phenomenal. So everything, you know, we had the subject matter expert for every single degree of what we were looking for to ensure that we could get on sleep on time, we could get fed, and we always had what we needed to supplement our bodies. We partnered with a company called Transcend, who did our TRT and our peptides for the guys who could do it, which I'm a big firm believer in. As you get older, there's things that you need to focus on. The problem, and I always get off on this because I want to make sure that everybody, especially people who don't know anything, hear it. When a doctor tells you that your range is good, you got to ask them what that truly means. And that could be in anything. If you fall between this category and this category, well, that category could be so massive. And if I'm like me, I want to be on the higher level of it, if it's possible, without having to do crazy stuff. And so I always want to be at the highest level. And when I got out of the service, I was 28 years old and I had a testosterone of 148. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And nothing was working in my body. So this is how we took the approach to every discipline here, was to make sure that when we build this manual, everything in it is real, it's easy, it's for you to take and get back to your homeostasis. So our idea, we're going to help you build your foundation, and then you can build whatever home you want on top of it. So simple basics.
So we have some other questions coming in, Ryan. Maybe you can answer these as well as Jake. But, you know, the typical treatment, like how often and how long did you guys, you know, keep on? Did you guys have the RX or PRS or both? Or what did you guys bring with the project?
So we brought the big machines with us. Okay. We were blessed.
100.
Everybody had a big one. And yeah, in fact, we didn't even know that the traveling units were available, which I didn't care anyway. I just put it on like a stereo system and walked it around. Like, this is all good.
Big boom box.
That's right. But, you know, as far as the relief, I would notice it substantially the next day. So when I would get done in our training, once we hit that half marathon week every day, it only got worse from there. So that's when it really became a focal point for me of listening to this stuff, because every single week, I mean, then we went to a 5x20 at one point. We had to do 20 miles a day for 5 days. We didn't actually get to all do it together. But that's just it. You know, your body is completely breaking down. So now it's fueling correctly, but it was 24 hours from the time that we started the initial trek and your body started to fatigue, putting the ARP on that night. It was always a nighttime rendition for me. Sometimes it was 2 a days. You know, you get done with it. I'd give it about 30 minutes to sit down and relax, breathe, and then I would put it on, and then I would do it again that night. But 24 hours is when I would start to see some real relief from the stress I put on the day before.
So Ryan, how long were you doing your treatments for? Was it the typical 20 minutes?
So depends. Some of the physical treatments that I would do where I'd actually have the pulse on, that was 20 to 30 minutes. When I was doing the recovery blood flow, it was 4 or 5 hours. I mean, I would put it on and I would turn it on throughout the majority of the night. The interesting thing, I was kind of, at first I thought that the machine, when I was just on background and it was just running for the entire night, I thought because I couldn't sleep the first night that it was keeping me stimulated. But what I really realized is, oh no, it was the thousands of miles that I did before, and the fact that I had to do a half marathon the next day at 3 a.m. I had to get up and get ready, and it was that. And then the next night I do it, and the next night I do it, and I was starting to crash really hard and sleep. So
nice.
But it truly does work. I mean, for those of you watching and listening right now, this stuff is so effective. We could not have recovered quick enough to truly get to the point of deploying to the 7X to do what we did without this machine. There was no question about it. It was extraordinarily valuable. All the teammates, I know that you're going to have some of the other guys on at some point, but just the questions they were asking about how to use it and the uses that they were doing and digging into the manual, you got an incredible machine.
That's great. Well, man, this is Jake. I'm at a loss. This is the most powerful Q&A we've had.
You want to go another hour? No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that to you.
I mean, Ryan, wow, what an unbelievable story. What a great insight to your journey so far in life. And I mean, I can't even tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time to, you know, joined Jake and I tonight and really, really given us an enlightening view of your world and your life, and how I'm thankful that we were able to help you with that project. I can't tell you enough, and so glad that you guys were able to recover and utilize the technology. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys.
I've had a series of texts come in. This guy's a warrior. This guy's legit. I've had some questions coming in as well. Just, a very brief one. You don't have to get too deep into it, but have you noticed that this machine has helped you in like dopamine or just kind of feeling better like you normally would from a workout? Has it like raised your spirits, so to speak?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you get up in the morning and you feel like you could conquer the world, there's no question about it. I knew that if I didn't put it on, I was going to have a bad day the next day. I knew that for a fact. And so it became this physical religion for us of, I have to put the ARP on in order for me to have a successful day tomorrow. That was no question about that. I also wanted to say, and I'll answer a few more questions, but I want to say thank you to you guys, because this project nobody knows about it. Not yet. And to take a shot in the dark at a group of people that nobody knows, that have spent their lives in the shadows, and say, we want to support you guys because we believe in the mission. You guys stepped up to the plate to truly help us without any proof that we were going to be able to do anything. So that's amazing. And we are beyond grateful for it. Number two, I want to give a shout out to Colin. Colin, when he joined us, we were like, all right, we got to haze this new guy because he's, not part of the team just yet. So not only did we test his gear, but we also made him go on a run with us, and he held his own.
Nice.
He's like, I'm a lacrosse player. And I was like, not today. You're not. You're a runner. And we went and ran, and he ran, and he finished it off. And I'm pretty sure I saw him running straight to the ARP right afterwards. But ultimately,
good for Colin.
Thank you guys for what you have done for us. And when this manual releases next year in 2024, along with the documentary, you're going to be right front and center inside that, and we're going to tell everybody about it.
Well, we love it.
It means a lot. Thank you.
And it's great. I mean, at the end of the day, just to hear about your outcome, because as we've been kind of talking about throughout this whole Q&A and through our whole, outcome is the key for this technology. And we just want, folks like yourself and anybody that's listening today to just, it's a new tech. It's a great technology that can help so many people. And our mission is really just to educate and try to get people to, have the successful outcomes that you guys have experienced during that project. So thank you so much again for your time.
No, honored to be here.
And Ryan, could you give that website one more time? How do people reach you?
Yeah, so you can go to 7x.project on Instagram, and you can follow us at AmericanExtreme.com. So those are the two areas right now, and we have a lot more to follow. So
perfect.
Come follow the journey.
Love it.
Well, we sure will, Ryan. And once again, I mean, just a lot of respect to you, and thank you for everything you're doing, certainly for the veterans and other people out there that I know you're certainly helping. So you're still, you continue to serve, and that's a testament for your team and where you come from and your background. It means a lot.
Thank you. Well, if you're struggling out there, anybody, just know that there is always ways out. There's always people who are ready to listen. Just got to speak once and we'll step in and help. And when you think you're at your lowest point in your life, you might just be only at 50% where you can truly take it. So let's turn that corner. Let's start a new page and reach out for help.
Love it. 7X Project on Instagram and AmericanExtreme.com. Please support him. And boy, I hope we have you back. I hope you can come back. We'd love to have you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I just went to your website. I'm going to bookmark it, and I can't wait to go through your website and kind of read more and learn more about the project.
Appreciate you guys. Go buy an ARP.
That's
awesome.
Ryan the Birdman. Thank you, everybody. I know there was a lot of questions we didn't get to, so just reach out to us, info@arpneuro.com. Thanks for everyone joining in. And one last time, AmericanExtreme.com. Make sure you check it out.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.